Hello everyone, good afternoon or good morning, and welcome to this year's The Road to Retirement Pre-Retirement webinar. My name is Frank O'Brien. I am a Senior Benefits Educator here at Wespath, and joining me today is Todd Creviston.
Hi everyone.
Todd is also a Benefit Educator here at Wespath. Just to do some housekeeping before we get started, there is a lot of information on this presentation, and we'll try to go through it as clearly and as methodically as we can. But please realize that there are plenty of resources available to you and for you. There's webinars and seminars that we hold throughout the year. There's one-on-one benefit education consultations, EY financial planning services, etc. A plethora of resources for you, so please take advantage of those. But yes, today will be kind of packed with some good information for you. It may seem like a fire hose, but we'll try to get through that as cleanly and as clearly as possible. This will be recorded and it will be emailed to all of you at the conclusion of this, probably towards the end of the week. We're doing another one tomorrow. We'll pick one of the two and then we'll send that. And with that email of the recording will also be a .pdf of this presentation deck so that you can use that also as a resource. On the right-hand side, there is the attachment toolbar, and on that toolbar, we have documents for you to, throughout the course of this hour, take, save for your own selves there. We have information called the retirement checklist, which we're going to talk about momentarily, things to be thinking about as you're preparing for retirement. The EY Financial Planning Services brochure will be there, information on required minimum distributions, the Housing Allowance Exclusion Worksheet, and information on life stage retirement income, a program that Todd will be sharing with you down the road. Lastly, there is a Q box, a question box. Please take advantage of that. We will try to answer your questions through the course of this time, but any questions that do not get answered, we will get a copy of those and within a few days get back to you individually with an answer to your question. So with that, today's agenda, let's talk about the retirement and retirement process for 2024 and really beyond for those who are still years away from retirement. The information is still relevant. We're going to go through the Wespath retirement plans. I'm going to go through the Clergy Retirement Security Program, the Ministerial Pension Plan, and the Pre-82 Plan. And then at that point, I'm going to hand the baton over to Todd, who's going to talk about the United Methodist Personal Investment Plan and topics such as the Housing Allowance Exclusion, Death and Disability Benefits, Participant Resources, and the like. As we start thinking about retiring, there are some common questions to be thinking about. Is now the right time to retire? Or should I possibly wait out a few more years? Am I ready to retire? All things falling into place for yourself, but also, is your spouse ready to retire? Going into retirement, it's a great, wonderful, exciting thing, but there are some changes that do occur in individuals and families, households, that you want to be thinking about that as you're thinking about retirement. Well, will I have enough money? Today's presentation is to help you get an understanding of where that income is going to come from to start to answer that question for you. But again, other resources are made available to you to continue to do that thought. Where will I live is a common question going into retirement, certainly coming out of a parsonage or into a home, or maybe just moving around the country to follow family, grandkids, those types of things. And in retirement, what will I do with my time? Some people continue to work, some people stay in ministry, some people just go to the local Walmart or what have you and work in the shop. Some people go out, maybe play a little more golf, go to the ocean a little bit more, fish, tennis, those types of things. So that's the exciting thing. What will you do with that additional time that comes your way? When we think about going into retirement or retirement appointment, we do look at the Book of Discipline. What are the provisions for retirement? Well, the first is the normal retirement provision. This is age 65 or 40 years of service, and the key word here is or. If you're 63 years old and you have 40 years of service, you can retire under the normal retirement rule. We also have early retirement, age 62 or 30 years of service. Again, or being the critical word here. If you're 60 years old and you have 30 years of service, you can retire under the early retirement provision of the Book of Discipline. But we're going to talk about some considerations around early retirement when we talk about the Clergy Retirement Security Program's defined benefit. There's a mandatory retirement age of age 72. And there's also a 20-year retirement rule. It's a voluntary retirement rule with 20 years of service. So maybe someone's 50, 55 years old, is moving on elsewhere in their life, but they've attained 20 years of service. They can go into a 20-year retirement. However, they wait until they attain age 62 to begin to elect and receive their employer-provided retirement benefits. As far as the 2024 retirement process is concerned, and also this kind of goes into the following years as well. Well, we have the checklist. The checklist is there for you on the toolbar, but things to be thinking about. If you have not yet registered for benefit access, please do. Utilize, take advantage of benefit access. It is truly a great tool, and it's very easy to navigate once you get on there and you start to play around with it. You want to verify that your personal information is correct. We're going to be generating benefits and providing benefits to you off of the information that we have on the system. So we want to make sure that that information is good. But also you want to make sure that your spouse's information is also correct. You're going to hear about spousal benefits, and how those spousal benefits are going to be calculated and provided does depend on some of the data that we have on our system. For example, the date of birth of your spouse. You want to check your clergy service record. You can run this yourself on Benefit Access. You can have us run them for you if you like. Your clergy service record is important not only to just encapsulate your entire ministry, but also there are time periods that are kind of cut out of your service period where we're using those years or months of service to calculate benefits, and we'll get into that shortly. But you want to make sure all of that is understood, because certain benefit eligibility and the way you're going to receive benefits is going to be determined on that service record that you have. You want to verify your beneficiaries are correct. And this isn't really just for the Wespath stuff. It is everything that you have where a beneficiary, you, your spouse, have a beneficiary that can be attached. You want them in good working order. God forbid something happens to you or both of you and they're not in good working order, then it goes to your state probate, and all of that takes time, money to come out. So one of the exercises is to go through your beneficiary designations and make sure they are up to date. With Benefit Access, the road to retirement goes through Benefits Access. So you're verifying your information, you're making sure everything is there. You might want to run some benefit projections, use our readiness tool, and also use the modeling tool for life stage retirement income that has been made available to you. And then in 2024, for the class of 2024, but in years forward as well, you will be making your benefit elections on Benefit Access. So again, want to make sure you understand Benefit Access, you're not learning the platform at the same time you're making your elections. You will make your elections through Benefit Access. And as you get closer to retirement, benefit education consultations, other webinars, seminars, we will do a BA demo to show you how to go about doing that. Thing to note for those for 2024, your elections need to be made if you want to begin to receive your income in July by June 28th, 2024. July 1st is a Sunday, then or a Saturday, and then you got the 4th of July, and it gets a little kind of mixed up that way. You just want to make sure that you have your benefits in place by June 28th at 3 o'clock Central Time, 4 o'clock Eastern Time, kind of when the markets close is one way to look at that. We have a retirement team, a great group of people that are here to support our current retirees, the future classes of retirees, truly help everyone get through all the decision making, all of the processing, any questions that you have. This is another great resource that is available to you, our retirement team. And on that, you can see the phone number that you can reach them if you have any questions for them. Looking at things, you want to understand your sources of income. Most commonly, we're going to talk about what are you receiving from Wespath. You have your clergy retirement security program, the ministerial pension plan, and for those long tenured in ministry, the pre-82 plan. But you also want to think about your personal participation in the UMPIP, the United Methodist Personal Investment Plan. Hopefully all of you are participating in the UMPIP. But certainly you could have other plans, other employer-provided retirement plans, as well as IRAs. And certainly your spouse also may have sources of retirement income coming through. You know there's going to be Social Security. It's going to be based on one person's record and the other person's record, and Social Security benefits will come that way. But the spouse may have a 401k or a defined benefit pension coming from their work, so you want to see everything kind of consolidated. Again, another shout out for EY Financial Planning Services to take advantage of the services they can provide to all of us. And you also want to understand what that Social Security is going to be. Going to be for yourself, what's going to be for your spouse, kind of looking at both records. We highly recommend that you create your own My Social Security account at ssa.gov. It'll have all of your work history, all of your calculations as to what your benefit could be early Social Security at your full retirement age. If you delay it till age 70, you and your spouse, that information will be there. You want to give yourself about 10 or 15 minutes to register for this because they do go kind of deep into your background to make sure that you are who you are because you're accessing that record at ssa.gov. And now we can talk about the Wespath retirement plans. So we've kind of gone through some things for you to be thinking about, preparing. We've already given you some tools that can help you along the way as well. They're on the toolbar. And now we'll start going into some of the retirement plans and how benefits are made available and calculated for you. Here is kind of a walk down memory lane. We're on the road to retirement. You can see pre-82 plan, ministerial pension plan, the clergy retirement security program, all the employer-provided plans over time, and then, of course, that UMPIP that is there, has been for a long time, as our voluntary retirement plan. First, we'll spend some time looking at the CRSP, the Clergy Retirement Security Program. CRISP, I think CRSP is probably the most common way it is referred. It is the current employer-provided retirement plan. And there are two actual retirement arrangements in this one plan. On the left-hand side, you can see there's a defined benefit. It's a traditional pension. It's a mathematical formula I will review with you. It is not subject to market activity. But then we have the account balances side, the supplemental employer-provided contribution account invested in the Wespath funds made available to you to supplement your income in retirement. With the defined benefit plan and the calculations, this is not a balance that is being converted into an annuity. It is a formula. First, we multiply three components together to generate an amount, and then from there, decisions you make come to arrive or derive the amount of annuity you will receive. The first is the denominational average compensation, DAC or DAC. As you can tell, we love our acronyms here in the retirement world, employee benefits world. We have the denominational average compensation. And here the words are telling us what's going on. We're looking at a full-time appointed clergy, getting the comp. The number that we're looking at, we come up with an average. For this year, it's $78,292. I'm sorry, for 2024, it's $78,292. Then we're looking at a factor, a retirement factor, either 1.2% or 1%. And then thirdly, we're looking at your credited service during the periods of time I'm about to review with you. So again, clergy service record, take a look at that, make sure it is in good order and correct, because these benefits will get calculated using some of that information. When we look at the first time period of January 7th through January 1st, 2007 to December 31st, 2013, the retirement factor is 1.25%. So when the plan first rolled out, it was 1.25%. General Conference of 2012 reduced it to 1% effective January 1st, 2014. So the calculation's similar, but the variables change to come up with the amount of the annuities that come through the plan. You have your credited service. We're going to assume full-time appointed. We're also going to assume a 2024 retirement for our modeling that you're about to see. Your attained ministry from 2007 to 2013, 7 years full-time. And then from January 1st, 2014 to 2024, it's at 10.5 years of full-time appointed service. And now we're doing the math. We have these two tables here to show you each time period being calculated. The first one on the left is at 07 through 13. You can see that denominational average compensation of $78,292. And this time period, the factor is 1.25%. And this is the 7-year time frame. So 1 times the other times the third, you end up with 6850. You divide that by 12, and we come up with 571 per month. Now we're looking at the second time frame. Again, we're going to use 10.5 years of full-time appointed service. We're now at that 1% retirement factor, and the DAC remains the same, the 78,292. We multiply that together, you get the 8220 divided by 12, and you get that 685 per month. Then we just add them together, and that's what we're considering to be the base amount of the CRSP benefit. However, choices that you make will impact the overall retirement income you're going to receive in the form of an annuity. There are spousal benefit considerations to be made, as well as for single life individuals, some options that you'll be hearing about. There is an annual cost of living adjustment that gets applied or attached to each of the annuities that are made available to you. For the CRSP plan, the minimum is 2%. You're going to hear MPP, you can do 0%. But what percentage of COLA do you want to attach to the annuity will impact the amount you're going to receive. And then also early retirement. With the spousal annuities, you're going to see these again in another model, but we have the 3 different types of spousal annuities. We have 3 different types of single life annuities as well. With the COLA, the considerations you want to make as to what COLA percentage you want, your age, your spouse's age, if married, what kind of health history do you have? Do you have family longevity? Those types of things. You, and again, if married, your spouse. And then also other sources of income that you have. Each one of these things gets looked at individually or mutually exclusive, if you will. But again, going back to the larger plan of understanding all of your sources of income really comes into play in terms of what elections do you want to make at one particular time for one particular benefit. And then we have the early retirement. As I indicated earlier, we're going to come back to early retirement, age 62 or 30 years of service. Within the clergy retirement security program's defined benefit calculation, anyone who retires under the early retirement provision, there is a 0.05% reduction in the amount of benefit you receive each month. 0.05% each month reduction in the amount that you receive. The example we have here of Reverend Wesley doesn't have 40 years of service, is retiring exactly 2 years early from the normal retirement age, 0.5 percentage point per month. 1 year, that's 6%. For 2 years, that would be 12%. So we have that initial calculated amount of $1,256, but there's that early retirement reduction that brings it down by that $151 that nets out $1,105. That is your reduced monthly benefit. However, you can note that if you decide to defer to receive this benefit until you're age 65, you'll receive the full benefit, but calculated as of your retirement date and your retirement age of age 63. A good topic if you're thinking early retirement to have with one of us benefit educators in the form of a consultation or to review and calculate with EY. That's the defined benefit piece. We're going to see annuity illustrations that tie back to CRSP momentarily. But first, we're going to talk about the defined contribution that you also receive, the defined contribution account that you receive in the CRSP plan. This is a contribution account that comes 2% automatic required non-matching contribution plus a 1% matching contribution if you are contributing into the UMPIP. So hopefully, again, all of you are contributing into UMPIP. That's a 3% contribution going into this CRSP DC account. Now, it's an account balance with the matching and non-matching contributions. It's invested in the Wespath family of funds using our life stage investment management program that Todd is going to review with you, but essentially you're asking us to tailor your investment elections for you. And then in retirement, well, it's available as cash distributions. It's your account balance in retirement. You can roll it over to UMPIP. There's an internal mechanism that we can have that happen for you automatically. For those who decide to defer and receive benefits later on, you'll be mindful of a required minimum distribution. Now that age is changing going into 2024 based on your year of birth. So it could be either age 73 or age 75. We have an RMD brochure on the toolbar. And again, any remaining balances will be paid to your beneficiaries upon your death. So you and your spouse pass away, there's anything remaining in the account balances that will go to your named designated beneficiary. The next plan on our journey, the Ministerial Pension Plan, or MPP. This was the plan that was in place before the CRSP came along. It is an account balance plan. 11 or 12% of your compensation was put into an account in your name to provide your MPP benefit in retirement. Everyone who uses the MPP or Ministerial Pension Plan, you are in life stage investment management, where we're tailoring and managing that investment allocation for you to get you to, into, and through retirement. You will ask for these benefits when you're applying using Benefit Access. If you want to pull the trigger on receiving these benefits, that's how you will do it, through Benefit Access. There's the 65% of MPP provides a lifetime monthly income, and then there's 35% that remains as an account balance that you decide how, when, and how much income you want to derive. We're going to review 6 annuity options, and we're going to talk about the 5 COLA percentage options that are made available to you in the MPP, with the 4 for the CRSP. So again, taking a step back, Ministerial Pension Plan, it's an account balance plan. You're going into retirement, you want to receive your benefits, you make your elections through Benefit Access. 65% of that account balance will go and buy or purchase an annuity. And an annuity is simply a string of monthly income that you and your spouse cannot outlive. It comes to you monthly throughout the course of the remaining of your lifetime. But that other 35%, that 35% is an account balance that you can roll into the UMPIP, and then from there determine how, when, and how much income you want to derive from that 35%, right? So we put that back together, Ministerial Pension Plan, 100% of that. Then we kind of get to that 65%, goes and gets an annuity, and then at 35%, you can get life stage retirement income installment payments made to you. You can do your own installment program. You can determine what distribution option or options you want to use for that additional 35%. The annuities that are offered to you or provided to you, we have 6. 3 of them go under the category of life and survivor annuity options, you and your spouse. And we have these 3 on the left-hand side. Life in 100%, life in 85%, life in 70%. If you go to the column payable to you, you'll recognize that the life in 70% is the most that comes out to you as the participant, and the 70% upon your passing before your spouse, that's what your spouse would be receiving. So the payable to contingent annuitant is upon your passing. They don't both come out at the same time. What you'll also notice is the higher the survivorship percent that you elect, the lower the initial amount payable to you, but then the higher the amount that goes to your surviving spouse or contingent annuitant. So again, some financial planning and retirement income planning considerations here. What you're going to get out for yourself going in, and then how you want to plan if you pass before your spouse, what percentage of that annuity would they receive. And then we have single life annuity options. We have 3 of those. We have life only, life with a 5-year certain, and life 10-year certain. Life only. It's not a joint survivor. It's only paying out to one individual. This is the highest amount of the 6 amounts that you can see, is at 1,325. Once that individual is gone, no further benefit to anyone else. But we provide options to single individuals who may have someone in their life that's important to them, that they're taking care of, supporting in some way, helping a niece or nephew through college, or maybe with medical bills for somebody else in your family, that type of thing. So we provide to you the ability to go into retirement, receive a single life annuity, and let's say you put this 5-year period certain window on that annuity. What that means is you go into retirement, you have 5 years, you pass within the 3rd year. For the remaining 2 years, your named designated beneficiary will receive that annuity. Then after that, no further benefit to anyone. The 10 years, same concept, just a longer period of time. You're moving along. Year 7, you pass away. For the remaining 3 years, your named designated beneficiary will receive that benefit, but then after 10 years, no further benefit to anyone. If you elect one of these periods, certain windows, and you outlive that window time frame, and you pass, no further benefit to anyone. But as you're already able to pick up, there's a lot of options available to you. There's a lot of flexibility that is available to you. And again, the resources are there to help you think all of that through. So 6 annuity options, 3 life and survivorship, then the single life options to help you determine what form of annuity is best for you. Then the other thing to think about, the other decision to be made is that COLA percent, that annual cost of living adjustment percent that you want to attach to the annuity that will stay with that annuity all throughout its lifetime. And you have options and choice here as well. For MPP, you can do 0%. For the CRSP, it has to be a minimum of 2%. But for both plans, you can also do 3, 4, or 5% as the COLA percent that you attach to that annuity. But again, concept, the higher the COLA percent goes up, the lower the initial amount to you, but later on in life, the more income you can be receiving. So to illustrate this, we have this purple bar on this graph that shows, for example, a life and 70% annuity with a 2% annual cost of living adjustment. We'll just say that's what it is. The number's on the left-hand side and the age is on the bottom. Not that important. Again, it's for illustrative purposes. So you can see that annuity is doing what it's supposed to be doing with that 2%. But let's say through your retirement income planning, you say, you know what, this annuity, I'm going to put a 5% COLA on it. What you can see is the amount that comes out to you is lower than that 2%, but over time, from the compounding effect of that higher COLA percent, you receive more and more income. 10, 12, 13 years out, you're now receiving more income on a monthly or annual basis relative to that 2% COLA. So you can kind of see that illustrated there. As I said, for MPP, you can do a 0% COLA. It's the highest amount you'll get from that benefit going into retirement, but it's flat. It's basically a fixed annuity over time. It does not go up. There could be some planning considerations for that. That would be something you would work through with your advisor or with EY. And then also we illustrate what a 3%, 4% would look like. Again, those colors are below that purple 2%, and you can see over time they cross over, and then you receive more income down the road. You can choose one COLA percent for your ministerial pension plan account and another COLA percent for your CRSP annuity as well. So again, things to think about and model using benefit access. To kind of come back around to MPP and considerations, you can leave this. This is a account balance invested in our funds. You can leave this and defer receiving this until either age 73 or 75, depending upon your required minimum distribution age. You have the annuity and COLA options that we reviewed. You can, going into retirement, say, you know what, I need some of that 35% to provide monthly income to me, so I'm going to roll it over into the UMPIP to generate income. But for whatever reason, you want to defer that 65% and leave it invested and come back at a later date to elect that annuity, you can do that as well. So when going into retirement, that 65 and 35% can be treated separately if that's what you so choose to do. You can roll it over to UMPIP. Very simple on benefit access. There's a checkbox. Roll it to UMPIP. We recommend you do that. It stays exactly how it's invested. You're now in the UMPIP plan, and you have a lot more flexibility, a lot more options in retirement taking advantage of UMPIP. Again, you'll have other distribution options that are available to you, and Todd is going to talk about life stage retirement income soon. And then the last plan on our trip down memory lane here, pre-82 plan, those who are long tenured in ministry, who may have started 78, 79, 80, you have some time period before MPP became the plan. Here, there are two things that are going to be looked at. First of all, we are providing you lifetime monthly benefit payments in the form of an annuity or a form of monthly installment payments. And what we're doing is we're calculating the amount two different ways to determine what is the best benefit to provide to you from the pre-82 plan. The first calculation is, well, what are your years and months of service pre-82? So again, clergy service record. Pre-82 years, months of service, what is that? And then each annual conference has what we call a past service rate that gets multiplied against that pre-82 years of service. We come up with an amount. Or we have an account balance that gets converted to a lifetime annuity. Back in the day when it was the active plan, the employer was putting money into an account in your name to fund that future benefit. That money has stayed invested and will be considered as one of the means by which we may provide to you a pre-82 benefit in retirement. And what we're doing is we're just calculating the amounts. So the first thing we do is we look at that past service rate dynamic. The years of service pre-82, we multiply the 2 years in our example here times $700 as what would be a past service rate example in our model. Come up with $1,400, divide by 12, you get the $116.67. But for many, if not most, there's that account balance pre-82 that we run through the annuity algorithm, if you will, to determine what kind of an annuity can we provide to you using your service money, your account balance. We do that calculation. In our example here, it's $75,000, comes to $2138. We divide by 12, you get that $178.17. Once we do that calculation, we don't ask you which one you want. We're going to give you the higher of those two benefits as your monthly income in retirement. But please note, in November of each year, we recalculate the amount by using the new past service rate for the following year that annual conference voted on. And if that amount is greater than that defined benefit service amount that was previously calculated, we'll switch over and give that greater amount for the remainder of your retirement. So it's something we look at on an annual basis. Here, you're going to get a stream of monthly income and an annuity, if you will. If you're single, it's single life. There's no refund. Once you pass, there's no further benefit to anyone. And the benefit ceases upon your death. If married, it's a life and survivorship annuity. Each annual conference determines the percentage of survivorship that's going to be on the pre-82 annuity. 70%, 75%. Just check with your annual conference to determine what your life and survivorship percent is from the pre-82 plan. So that concludes our review of the employer-provided retirement plans, the Clergy Retirement Security Program, the Ministerial Pension Plan, and then the pre-82 plan. We've kind of gone through the annuity and the annuity options you have, COLA, and how all that ties together. As I hand it off to Todd to take us to UMPIP and the remainder of our session, was there anything you'd like to add or correct if I got something wrong or anything like that?
I would give you an A+.
Well, my
So well
colleague's
done.
giving me an A+.
And now I have the baton. So we can continue with our journey,
Yes.
and let's continue with UMPIP. So UMPIP, or United Methodist Personal Investment Plan, is a defined contribution plan, and Frank introduced those to you a little bit earlier. It's a plan that would accept contributions from the employer or plan sponsors, but it also accepts your contributions. So this is where your contributions go from your paycheck. So that's via payroll deduction. We hope that everybody is contributing at least 1% to their UMPIP account, because as Frank mentioned, that would mean that you're getting the 1% match in your CRSP DC, okay? So 1% or more. The annual contribution limits are set by the IRS, and when you talk about investing in your UMPIP account, United Methodist Personal Investment Plan, you have a couple of options on how to get your money into your UMPIP account. The first is to enroll in Life Stage Investment Management, and you'd complete that profile in Benefits Access. And Frank introduced Life Stage Investment Management. That will actually select your funds for you and determine how much of your contributions go into those funds each month. We call that allocation. The other option is self-managed. That means you select those funds and then you determine how much of your contributions go into the funds that you chose. Okay, so life stage investment management or self-managed. The two most common ways to contribute to UMPIP are on a before-tax basis. That means that your contributions come out before you pay your federal taxes. That means you're taxed on less, lowering your tax bill. Those before tax contributions grow tax deferred until you take a distribution in retirement. We'll talk later about the housing allowance exclusion, which is a terrific tax break that could potentially help to offset some of that tax bill. The second way to contribute, or the second most common way to contribute to UMPIP, is as a Roth contribution. Now, these are a little different. These are an after-tax contribution. Those contributions also grow tax deferred until you take a distribution. These are interesting, though. As long as you meet the two criteria, that distribution in retirement is not subject to federal taxes. It's a wonderful way to potentially lower your tax bill. Are they right for you? We would suggest to have a conversation with EY, Financial Planning Services. They're terrific at that. Or you can even talk to your financial advisor, okay? Another way to contribute to the plan, to UMPIP, is through a rollover. So the IRS allows you to move an IRS qualified plan to roll it into UMPIP. Briefly, those are a 401k, a 403b, and a 457b. Those are from potentially a prior employer. You can roll that into your UMPIP account. You can also roll a traditional IRA into your UMPIP account. To do so, you would just complete that incoming rollover form and then follow the instructions on submitting it. Essentially, you submit it back to Wespath. So this is what we're planning for. This is what we're saving and investing for, right? Distributions in retirement. UMPIP is there to replace a portion of your income. And you've got a couple different options to do. With all of the account balances, we like to say that you have flexibility. So with the distributions in retirement for your UMPIP, you can take a cash installment. I would say most clergy set up a cash installment. What that means is you'll have an amount each month placed into your bank account, so via electronic funds transfer. There's two ways to set up that cash installment. The first is through Life Stage Retirement Income. Life Stage Retirement Income calculates a monthly payment for you in a safety zone with the goal of trying to make that payment last a lifetime, and if you're married, your spouse's lifetime. Because it's an account balance, there is no guarantee, but it does offer excellent probability that it will provide that payment. The other option is self-managed retirement income. That just means you let Wespath know how much you'd like to have deposited in your account each month. Okay, could be $1,500, could be $2,000, could be $3,000. That's your choice. Frank also mentioned that after you've made your benefit choices, so beginning July 1 of next year, you're not able to change your annuity type or your cost of living adjustment. Okay, those are irrevocable. With the distributions from your cash balance, you can adjust that as you see fit into your retirement. Another distribution option would be a full lump sum. That would mean that you're going to roll out your account balance. That is possible. When as a benefit educator, we hear that from a clergy person, we suggest that they have a conversation with EY specifically around that topic, because we want that clergy person to understand if they're going to lose that housing allowance exclusion associated with that money. That's good to know in advance. The other thing good to know in advance would be, is there any taxes associated with that distribution? Okay. The next option would be a partial lump sum. And that means you take out $5,000, maybe $10,000, maybe it's a vacation, maybe it's something around the house. That's up to you. So you would take, a portion of that. Frank mentioned the required minimum distribution. There's you go ahead and take a look at the Life Stage Retirement Income brochure that's posted in the webinar control panel, and see if your required minimum distribution would be 73 or 75 potentially. So you can actually leave your account balance with Wespath invested, untouched, until that required minimum distribution. At that point, you would need to begin taking a distribution. Wespath is also going to help you keep track of that. Most clergy are well into taking distributions by the time you get to RMD age. And any balance that remains upon the retiree's death, that balance will be transferred to beneficiaries. So the initial benefits processing. So for those on the call, on the webinar, who might be retiring next July 1, here is the strategy, here is the timeline for receiving that first retirement payment. So Wespath takes about 3 business days to annuitize all of those retirees' accounts. There's millions of dollars that we annuitize, and we want to make sure that it's done correctly. So we have 3 days to complete that in. July 4th is a holiday that typically impacts that first payment, so you could see that you can expect your first payment to arrive around July 8th. Beginning in August, your monthly retirement income payments, so your MPP annuity and your CRSPDB payment, those will arrive via direct deposit on the first business day of the month. And that will continue September, October, and ongoing. The cash installment payment from life stage retirement income or even self-managed, that will arrive on the second or third business day each month. So now let's cover a little bit more about life stage solutions. I mentioned that there's 2 of them. The first one is life stage investment management, and that's that personalized investment management tool for your DC accounts. If you have service in MPP, that means that your account balance is actually being managed by life stage investment management. Your MPP account balance is being managed by life stage investment management. You can opt in to having CRSP-DC and your UMP-IP also managed by life stage investment management. What that does, it will actually tailor the fund choices and your asset allocation to each participant based on the variables that we see here. The participant's age, the expected benefit commencement date, your risk tolerance, and that's something that you can change. You could select conservative, moderate, or aggressive. And then also in that equation, or 2 other variables that affect the allocation choice would be the availability of Social Security benefits and also other Wespath investments. So life stage investment management will manage your account balances while you're in active service and also in retirement. Life stage retirement income has won some industry awards, and what life stage retirement income is designed to do is optimize your monthly retirement income from your DC plans. So you're able to consolidate that account balance or your account balances and then draw from that. To reiterate the goal is to provide monthly payments for participants and survivors lifetime. If you're in life stage retirement income, that means that account balance that is in life stage retirement income is also managed by life stage investment management. So to set this up, everybody who is eligible to retire will have that modeling tool. And what you'll see in that modeling tool is the ability to put different amounts of money, different amounts of your DC account balances into that life stage retirement income payment. That's the first thing that life stage can do for you, is calculate that monthly payment. There were 2 features that were added, 2 additional features that were added back in the spring of 2022 that have been quite successful. The first is a Social Security bridge. And you probably already know this, but when you take or when you delay taking Social Security beyond your full retirement age, so for me, it's 67 is my full retirement age. If I delay taking Social Security until 68, my benefit from Social Security will be about 8% bigger. So if I delay that until 70, that means that it'd be about 24% bigger. Okay? So what LifeStage will do, you delay taking Social Security, and LifeStage will actually give you what you should have received from Social Security. Okay? Let's say my LifeStage retirement income payment is $1,500 and my Social Security payment is $1,500. That means I'll receive $3,000 from LifeStage retirement income when I first begin. So this is where we are here. This is LifeStage retirement income. This is early in retirement. And you have that full amount, your LifeStage retirement income payment, and then that amount that you would have received from Social Security. And then at 70, or when you begin Social Security, you'll see that the amount that you're receiving from LifeStage is leveled down. Okay, it's adjusted down. Social Security then comes in. That benefit is bigger because you've delayed it. And that's how it would be until we reach the next milestone. And these are optional, so the Social Security bridge is optional. The next feature that was added to LifeStage retirement income in 22 is the ability to purchase a longevity income protection. That's an annuity from an outside insurance company. We're using Pacific Life currently. And you'll see what happens here. You'll see that little wedge at the bottom, the little teal section. That is your LifeStage payment. So again, it's leveled down, protecting that balance for the long haul. The longevity income protection begins at 80. That's guaranteed income. And then Social Security is the third piece of revenue or income coming in. Okay, so LifeStage retirement income provides a Social Security bridge. You can also choose to purchase that longevity income protection as well. So now we could move along to the housing allowance exclusion. This is a terrific tax break for retired clergy. It allows you to exclude income that you receive from Wespath from federal taxes. How much? That depends, and it depends on 3 different scenarios. And there are 3 scenarios that I'll go through. The amount can't exceed the smallest amount. So you'll do this each year. So the first scenario, you'll actually get from your annual conference. So each year at annual conference, they pass a resolution designating the housing allowance exclusion. And I've only heard of annual conferences passing 100%. So what that means is 100% of what you receive from Wespath can be excluded from your taxes. The second scenario is what you would spend in housing, or what you spent in housing. Mortgage payments, interest payments, homeowners insurance, property taxes. You can even keep track of paper towels and Windex. Furnishings, utilities, all of that would be combined together to show what you spent in housing for that year. The third piece is the fair rental value of your home. That would include furnishings and utilities. I've heard retired clergy working with a local real estate agent or a local appraiser. They'll come up with a letter and look at some comparables, provide a document back to you to support that amount. Incidentally, in the document section, we have the housing allowance exclusion worksheet. It looks like an IRS document, but it was actually put together by Wespath. And it talks about those 3 different scenarios that you'll go through, and there's a spot on the form for each of those amounts. So it can help keep you organized and help you document your housing allowance exclusion each year. So here's an example. So Reverend Waters received $24,000 in pension. The housing allowance exclusion is the least of these 3 scenarios. So $24,000 in pension, 100% of that was designated as the housing allowance. Now we move on to the second one. $20,000 was spent on housing for that period of time. The fair rental value is $21,000. So that means the housing allowance exclusion can't exceed $20,000. So now we do some simple math. We subtract that $20,000 from what you received from Wespath, and it comes out to a taxable amount of $4,000. It's a wonderful tax break. So this is available to retired clergy in your retired status with your annual conference. It's not applicable or it's not transferable to a surviving spouse unless the spouse is also clergy. On the back, there's a note that I think also helps to wrap up explaining the housing allowance exclusion. So I'll just read it real quick. So it says, I received X, so that's the amount that you received. It says, I received X from the UMC Benefit Board, Inc., as reported by the attached 1099-R. I did not include Y of that amount on line 5B because it has been excluded under the provisions of Section 107 of the Internal Revenue Code as a housing allowance exclusion. As a United Methodist clergy person, I am entitled to take this housing allowance exclusion. Done. Very good. So that's the housing allowance exclusion. And now we'll cover the death and disability benefits. So this is the active death benefits. So we see the provision. The provision is the individual. So if a clergy person passes away, their beneficiaries would receive $50,000. And then there's also a death benefit for a spouse, surviving spouse, and a child. There is a retiree death benefit as well, and there's some eligibility criteria that you see here. First, you need to be eligible to receive a benefit from CRSP at the time of retirement. And you need to be enrolled in CPP for 12 of the last 15 years, or an active participant in CPP for 25 years. So that's the retiree death benefit eligibility. And then here is the retiree death benefits. So you'll see it's paid in a flat amount. Retired clergy person passes away, the benefit's $20,808, and then there's an amount if a spouse, surviving spouse, and child pass away. And those amounts would be paid to the beneficiaries. The long-term disability is also available, and the definition is that you're unable to perform duties due to injury or illness for at least 6 consecutive months. There is an application process that needs to be approved. Your disability claim is also periodically reviewed and reapproved. And you do get, while you're on long-term disability, you will still receive that 2% CRSP non-match contribution to your CRSP DC account, and you'll also receive that 1% match. So you'll still continue to get your 3% of your annual plan compensation contribution to CRSP DC. The long-term disability benefit, you'll receive 70% of your pre-disability plan compensation. That includes both cash salary and housing. And then once Social Security disability income begins, it's actually offset. So whatever you receive from Social Security disability, that will be offset from the benefit that you're receiving up there at the top. So resources. Frank talked a lot about the resources in the very beginning. Primary resource would be the retirement benefit projection. So you have the ability to go in your benefits access account and run projections based on the annuity type, the cost of living adjustment. You can run it to see what it looks like for a life stage retirement income payment. You can run it to see what it looks like as a lump sum. You can run it as many times as you'd like. I typically do those in January just to see what it looks like for the year. I cast it out a couple of years when I'm 67, when I'm 70, just to get an idea of where I will be. We like to reinforce that it's a changeable estimate. It's a changeable estimate based on account growth, market conditions. There's an assumption that your salary will go up each year, and then that assumption for that retirement benefit commencement date. You could say July 1 of 2027, you could say July 1 of 2035, whatever you're looking for. And EY is a wonderful resource. We encourage you to register at the website that you see there. It's well worth the 5-10 minutes that it takes to do that. I get to see, you'll actually get to see a picture of your financial planner that's been assigned to you. So I get to see my guy, Rick, in my EY Navigate account. If you wanted just to have a quick phone conversation with him, you can also call him at that number there. Really no question too big or too small. Some common questions we hear clergy asking them. What would my retirement income look like? They can actually pull in and look at your other plans that you might have available, not just from Wespath, but that IRA or that Roth IRA. They can also talk to you about your spouse's retirement plan. You might be looking to purchase a home in retirement. They can help walk you through that and help you understand what you can afford in housing. They can also talk to you about choosing a COLA. Should it be a 2%? Should it be a 5%? Kind of walk you through that. Securing a down payment for housing, that's a big one. There is a loan feature, so should you do a loan or should you take a distribution? They'll be able to explain the pros and cons of both of those and provide objective guidance. I love this slide. Every time it gets reviewed by everybody, I always laugh that my picture still stayed in there. This shows that the communications department has a sense of humor. But what you could do is take a picture of that slide there. You'll also get the slide deck when we email it to you. But you can click that link and actually register for a benefit education consultation. We send you a link via Teams so that we can see each other. We secure the call, and then we can actually share your screen and answer all your questions. We can run a benefit projection for you or projections. We can also show you where those other forms are, like the contribution election form to increase or decrease your UMPIP contribution, and also that incoming rollover form. So those are a lot of fun. When I have consultations during the day, it's a part of my day that I always look forward to. So we're wrapping up here. We can't leave without providing some action steps, maybe some things to do. If you're not registered for Benefits Access, that would be your best first step. You can go directly to Benefits Access on that website. You can also scan that QR code there. Next up, we suggest reviewing your beneficiaries to make sure that they are where you would like them to be. Review and update your UMPIP contribution rate. When was the last time you increased that? How much are you contributing? Take a look at your life stage investment management profile. Another plug to run that projection. I like to say if you can run a projection, you won't have any trouble selecting your benefits when you retire, because the steps to do so, the steps to run that projection, and the steps to pick your benefits are pretty similar. Call EY, and you can even schedule that benefit education consultation. Some phone numbers. Wespath Participant Solutions as at the top, so if you're having trouble getting into Benefits Access, they can help you there. And then the retirement team, they are there to help all the retirees, and then the current year incoming retiree class. That concludes our webinar on the road to retirement.
Road to retirement.
So thank you very much for attending today. Frank, do you have any?
Well, I just wanted to mention that I did forget to mention that benefit education link will be in the email provided to you with the PDF of the deck and the recording. So you'll be able to go on and register for a consultation using that link that you'll get later in the week. Other than that, thank you all very, very much for your attention today, and have a wonderful rest of your day.